So something interesting happened. The majority of Senate Democrats voted against sending funding and aid to Israel. Yeah, we'll get into the details, so hold on to your seats. But the majority, it should have been all of them. 27 members voted against sending aid to Israel. Now, that is offensive aid. That does not include defensive. It's important that we break down the details here. Bernie Sanders brought this forward, so he is getting praise for this action while also being criticized for another one simultaneously for not calling this a genocide on CNN. Let's go ahead and get into this, ladies and gentlemen. He said, in U.S. military aid to Israel.
Thanks for joining me. Tonight, I will be using the rules of the Senate to force a vote to immediately end the sale of certain offensive weapons to the extremist and racist Netanyahu government in Israel. Most people agree that Israel had the right to defend itself against the Hamas terrorist attack of October 7th, 2023, when 1,200 innocent Israelis were killed and hundreds were taken hostage.
This is the playbook of Bernie Sanders. Imagine bringing up Hamas at this point in time when you have children that are starving. That is the nod to Israel. That's the nod to Israel that says, I see you. Why are you still bringing this up at this point in time when you're talking about starvation that's happening in Gaza? Bernie Sanders doesn't take money from AIPAC. He's doing this for free.
But in the last 21 months, Israel has not just gone to war against Hamas. It has gone to war against the entire Palestinian population in ways that are not only immoral, but in clear violation of international and U.S. law. In a territory of just over 2 million inhabitants, 60,000 people in Gaza have been killed and over 140,000 wounded since the beginning of this war. Some 60% of that total are women, children, and the elderly, including 14,000 kids.
Notice they're still keeping those numbers intentionally low.
Incredibly, almost 10% of the population of Gaza has been killed or wounded. Further, the physical infrastructure of Gaza has been basically destroyed. More than 90% of the housing has been made uninhabitable. Water systems and wastewater plants are inoperable. Hundreds of schools have been bombed. The healthcare system almost completely wiped out, and there is no electricity. Many of the people in Gaza have been displaced time and time and time again, forced to move from one location to another with nothing more than the clothes on their backs. All of this amounts to one of the worst man-made humanitarian disasters in modern history.
But he still won't call it a genocide. When people have to continue to move like that with, as he said, nothing but the clothes on their backs, that's a displacement. It is, with this particular situation, it is forced displacement. That's what's happening here. He still won't call it a genocide. If 90%, look at it this way, 90% of the housing, he said, has been destroyed. They don't have clean water. Every time they try to go to the aid sites to collect aid, they're facing the possibility of losing their life because the IDF has been ordered to kill them when they come to get the aid. But Bernie Sanders will continue to tell you that this is not a genocide. Let's go on a little bit more and we'll get to that vote.
But if you can believe it, it gets even worse. This spring, for 11 weeks, Israel blocked all humanitarian aid from getting into Gaza. No food, no water, no medicine. Since then, in the last 2 months, due to international pressure, Israel has allowed a trickle of aid in, but nowhere near what is required.
But it's still not a genocide. We're going to stop it here because I can only hear so much of his bullshit, but it's still not a genocide, right? According to Bernie Sanders. If they're not allowing enough aid to get in for people to even live off of, they want the people to die. They're making it so that they won't be able to have enough fuel that they need to continue to live. Now, this was the vote that took place in the Senate. By a vote of 27-14, Senate Democrats voted to stop sending arms shipments to Netanyahu's government, which has waged a horrific, immoral, and illegal war against the Palestinian people. The tide is turning. Americans don't want to spend billions to starve children in Gaza. Now, let me tell you how he's sneaky about this, right? And I'll get to those 17 people and tell you who they are. He's talking about the aid not coming into Gaza, but he's not telling you about the people who are being killed when they go to those aid sites to try to get aid. So the choice for you is stay where you are and starve and hope that you're not bombed, but you'll still die from starvation, or try to go to the aid sites and hope that you're not killed by the IDF trying to get food. You have death on both sides. So what? They're trying to kill you. Now we have 27 Senate Democrats that voted to stop that. Here are the 17. If you recognize any of these individuals as your representatives, I recommend that you contact their office immediately. And I'm telling you right now, do not vote for if you voted for them, don't vote for these people ever again. Bennett, Blumenthal, Booker, we all know that's Cory Booker. I'll get to him. Cantwell, Coons, Cortez Masto, Fetterman, Gillibrand, Hassan, Hickenlooper, Padilla, Peters, Rosen, Schiff, Schumer, Warner, and Wyden. So Chuck Schumer as well. These are the people, the Senate Democrats, that voted to keep sending aid to Israel. Now, I want you to see what the communications director said. You guys got to know, again, this was only for offensive. This did not include defensive, right? So that squirrel is on it. This is Bernie Sanders' communication director. She admits that Bernie Sanders does not support an actual arms embargo and has the exact same position as AOCIA, only symbolically force a vote to stop a tiny, marginal, irrelevant amount of offensive arms while endlessly supplying the vast majority of defensive arms. So to that point, these 17 Democrats couldn't even vote for this weak bill that will still allow defensive aid for Israel. They still wouldn't even vote for that. And I think we know why, right? Because of who is funding them, because of AIPAC. So let's look at what she said, because this is Bernie Sanders' comms director. Tomorrow, Senator Sanders once again force a vote on the floor of the U.S. Senate to block the sale of offensive arms to Israel. So those 17 Democrat senators, they couldn't even support a weak bill to try to hold Israel accountable in some way, shape, or form. And then to make matters even worse, at the same time, this is all happening at once, Bernie Sanders appeared on CNN. And by the way, shout out to everybody who is ratioing him right now. And he said that this is not a genocide. Listen to this.
Are you at the point yet where you would call what's happening in Gaza a genocide?
You can use whatever word you want.
But Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that she's the first Republican to go there.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Look, genocide is a legal term. What is going on now clearly is absolutely horrific. 60,000 people dead and 140,000 who have been wounded. But the important point is not what you call it. It is horror. And I think the whole world knows that. The answer is, what the hell do we do about it? Should the United States taxpayer, should your taxpayer dollars go to support a government that is...
Let's go back.
Are you at the point yet where you would call what's happening in Gaza a genocide?
You can use whatever word you want.
But Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that she's the first Republican to go there.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Look, genocide is a legal term. What is going on now clearly is absolutely horrific. 60,000 people dead and 140,000 who have been wounded. But the important point is not what you call it. It is horror. And I think the whole world knows that. The answer is, what the hell do we do about it? Should the United States taxpayer, should your taxpayer dollars go to support a government that is doing it? That is the most important issue. So immediately, you got to get ceasefire, you got to get humanitarian aid in, but the United States cannot continue to aid and abet the Netanyahu government doing what it's doing.
Do you want to see?
Pause. So let me tell you what's going on here. Notice he tried to cut her off when she said the word genocide. I want to tell you, you know why he won't call it a genocide? Because if you call it a genocide, then you have to take action. And he doesn't want to take action against Israel because, again, Bernie Sanders believes that Israel has a right to exist. Bernie Sanders still wants Israel there. He just doesn't want it controlled by Benjamin Netanyahu's government. Bernie Sanders is still a Zionist. And this is the part I think some progressives are struggling with right now at this moment. Because just because you're not taking money from AIPAC doesn't mean you're not a Zionist. I'll show you other examples of this as well. That's why he won't call it a genocide. Legally, if you do that, yes, you have to take action. Let's finish this part here.
United States personnel on the ground helping distribute aid. I mean, what is another scenario here, do you think?
The United Nations has done, under very difficult circumstances, a good job until they were kicked out by Netanyahu. So I would like to bring them back, and I think they're prepared to come back.
Yeah, man. So people are like roasting him for this. I'll show you here so you can see part of it. Dan said he doesn't want to call it a genocide because under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, U.S. member states are required to act and stop genocide and punish the perpetrators. Bernie Sanders does not want Israel to be punished. That's why he is not going to call it a genocide. If you look at some of the comments here, I said Bernie is controlled opposition. I'll get to that in just a second. Butch Ware said Zionist BS on his Zionist BS again. Z Squirrel goes after him, said there's no other context where Bernie Sanders would dare deny genocide that has been recognized as such by Amnesty, Human Rights Watch, the UN, etc. Jesse Jett says, put one of his songs here. He shows the gentle grin that used to stir your inner spark. And he says, not me, us, as he gestures to the oligarchs. Blakely said, imagine still denying it's a genocide at this late fucking date. Natalie said, genocide is a legal term because it has legal consequences. That's what the hell you should do about it, Bernie Sanders. Anyway, I can go on and on and on, but there are a number of people who are ratioing him for that. So the vote that took place on the Senate floor, he is excited that the majority of Democrat senators voted against sending offensive aid to Israel. I believe that's the first time that has happened, or either the first time it's happened in a long time. But from what I understand, a first time that this is like a big deal that people are talking about here. But I want to show you this video as well, just to remind you again, even here, Bernie Sanders says Russia and China are committing genocide. None of the major human rights organizations have determined that. Yet for his precious Israeli death cult, he pretends he's a genocide purist, as every major human rights org has recognized it. I want to remind you guys of this video here.
A little bit queasy, what genocide? You got to be careful about that word.
It is a genocide.
What's your definition of genocide?
Bernie, you have funded Zionism yourself. You have funded the Israeli settler state. Here you are, pretending you aren't. It is disgusting. Liar, liar, genocide denier. Liar, liar, genocide denier. It's disgusting. It is reprehensible. You are a child killer.
Yeah, so that was last year. So he's been doing this for quite some time. There's also the video from 2015 that went viral that showed Bernie Sanders telling one of his own constituents to shut up after they asked about what about the Palestinians. That was prior to October 7th, but his response to them was to shut up. This is why I say Bernie Sanders is controlled opposition. Let's go on here. Here was another one. Just minutes ago, over 21 months into an ongoing genocide that he refuses to recognize, Bernie Sanders stood up in the Senate and said, Hamas started this war. See, watch this.
Hamas is a terrorist organization which began this war with a brutal terrorist attack on October 7th, 2023, that killed 1,200 innocent Israelis and took 250 hostages.
You see how he's still giving the wink and the nod to Israel? Imagine talking about like Israel right now when you have Palestinians that are starving. People in Israel aren't starving. Israel is deliberately starving Palestinian people, and they're trying to kill them when they go to get aid. And imagine starting off with, well, Hamas started all this. No, they didn't. Hamas didn't. Did Hamas start the Nakba in 1946? This is the same person who marched with Dr. King. This is what I was saying before. I'm tired of people coming to me saying, well, he marched with Dr. King. That was in the past. I'm looking at what you're doing today. And there are many of them out there that are like Bernie. I marched with King. I was out in the streets protesting. I was around for the civil rights movement. I participated. That's great. But what are you doing right now? Why is Bernie Sanders trying to protect his precious Israel so much? And he's not alone. All those other people, all the 17 Democrats that would not vote for this, a lot of them are captured by AIPAC, by the Israeli lobby. But Bernie Sanders, who's supposed to be the progressive, who's supposed to be against this type of action, why is he trying so hard to protect Israel? Why is he so hesitant to say that it's a genocide?
Everyone agrees with that. The International Criminal Court was right to indict the leaders of Hamas as war criminals for those atrocities. And I think most of us agree with that. There is also, I believe, no disagreement as to whether or not Israel, like any other country similarly attacked, had a right to defend itself. Clearly, it did.
Again, had a right to defend itself. So who's controlling Bernie Sanders at this point in time? This is the guy who ran around the country 2 election cycles in a row that said he was starting a political revolution, but he can't call Israel out for committing a genocide right before our very eyes. This is the guy that was going to change the electoral politics system. This is the guy that many of you, including myself, canvassed for, phone banked for, donated money to, supported, got really excited about some type of change. This the same person? This is what I mean when I say that Bernie Sanders is controlled opposition. Bernie Sanders, people like him and people like AOC, yeah, they support progressive policies. They support policies that are for the working class. But the policies are not radical politic. And we need to talk about this for a second. There is a difference between let's try to work with the establishment and make changes that way, and calling for a radical politic that is greatly going to transform this country and improve lives for working class people. There's a big difference between the two. And what you notice is that at the end of the day, come general election, Bernie Sanders is going to tell you to go with the corporate establishment Democrat that is going to implement all those things that he told you to fight back against. That's controlled opposition. You come in to make people think that you are going to provide something to the left of the Democratic Party. But if you don't win and you don't get there, you take that energy and you funnel it into the corporate establishment part of the Democratic Party, which is the majority of it. And it keeps people where they are. That's why we don't get progress. That's controlled opposition. You're not going to get progress if you're not willing to fight back against the establishment. And that includes establishment within the Democratic Party. So if you tell people to join said establishment, no win there. But it's not just him. Cory Booker went on this large rant just the other day, talking about the hunger, witnessing the catastrophic hunger and suffering of civilians, especially children, women, the sick, and the elderly in Gaza, has been heartbreaking. The crisis in Gaza must be met with an immediate and drastic surge in life-saving resources, such as desperately needed food, water, and medicine, including therapeutic foods for those suffering from malnutrition. It is our collective moral duty to ensure that humanitarian relief reaches those who need it most urgently. Cory Booker says nothing in this essay about the people being killed when they go to seek the food. And that's because Cory Booker is an AIPAC shill. AIPAC shill. This is just an act. Cory Booker did not vote for that legislation to block offensive aid to Israel. He was one of the 17 that didn't vote for it. He's friends with Rabbi Shmuley. This is another one I've been telling people for a while. This guy is bought and paid for. Yet he put on this theater just the other day.
The Democratic Party needs a wake-up call. I see law firms bending a knee to this president, not caring about the larger principles, that those free speech rights, that you could take on any client. Why are you bending the knee? I see universities that should be bastions of free speech bending at the knee to this president. I see businesses taking late night talk show hosts off the air because they dare to insult a president. I see people who want mergers suddenly think that they have to pay tribute to this president. And what are the very people here elected to defend the Constitution of the United States saying, oh, well, today, let's look the other way and pass some resources that won't go to Connecticut, that won't go to Illinois, that won't go to New York, that will go to the states he likes.
And I see Cory Booker bending the knee towards Donald Trump when he still supports Israel, knowing that they're committing a genocide. I see him bending the knee to Donald Trump when he supports sending aid to Israel that, to his point, won't go to New York, won't go to New Jersey. Cory Booker does the same thing on different issues. But Cory Booker is very corporate and establishment. He's not out there trying to really make a change for working class people. He's bought and paid for too. So every now and then, when like a Donald Trump is in office, he gets on the Senate floor to put on this performance of sorts. He turns into an actor. It's all an act. Everyone's brave and bold when the opposition is in the White House. There is no bravery when it's your party that's in the White House. But this is a complete act.
That is complicity with an authoritarian leader who is trashing our Constitution. It's time for Democrats to have a backbone. It's time for us to fight. It's time for us to draw lines. And when it comes to the safety of my state being denied these grants, that's why I'm standing here. Don't question my integrity. Don't question my motives. I'm standing for Jersey. I am standing for my police officers. I'm standing for the Constitution, and I'm standing for what's right. And dear...
But you won't even stand up against genocide. He feels the Democratic Party needs to draw some lines. If you can't draw a line at genocide, you have no red lines.
God, if you want to come at me that way, you're going to have to take it up with me, because there's too much on the line right now in America. As people's due process rights and freedom of the speech rights and secret police are running around this country, picking people up off the streets who have a legal right to be here. There's too much going on in this country. When are we going to stand together for principles that I just heard that were agreed with? When are we going to stand together?
You didn't stand together with the majority of the Democrat senators that voted against sending offensive aid to Israel.
If we don't stand as Democrats, we deserve to lose. But if we stand united, if we stand strong, if we stand with other people, if we tell with a chorus of conviction in America, what this president is doing is wrong. If we stand up and speak that way, dear God, we will win. Like all of those people that are ancestors who joined hands together and said, we shall overcome. No, not on my watch. I'm protecting Jersey today. I'm protecting our Constitution today.
So now it's all about back to we shall overcome. You see, so it's like I take serious issue with this, and hopefully you guys will understand where I'm coming from, because here's my point. Cory Booker got to go. Cory Booker needs to lose his seat. Not just him, all of those 17 Democrats that voted against that in the Senate need to lose their seat. And Bernie Sanders, don't be thinking you know what? You need to go too. Bernie need to go too. In fact, anyone who can't sit up here and call it a genocide needs to go. All these people need to lose their seat. Now, Bernie may not be taking money from AIPAC, but you damn sure want to protect Israel too much. And that is very suspect. He still wants Israel to be there. You got to go. You won't call it a genocide? You got to go. Somebody captured you somewhere. Now, Cory Booker says all this mess. And I'm telling you guys, let's get it trending. Let's start, I said this earlier, let's start a social media blitz to get Cory Booker out of office. He just voted against blocking weapons to Israel. He is up for re-election in 2026. Hashtag get Booker out. This is the money that Cory Booker has taken from the pro-Israel lobby. Cory Booker has got to go. Now, I say this because, again, when I tell you it's performative, you see he's up for re-election in 2026. There you go. That's why he's on the floor. It's theater, possibly considering another presidential run. But Cory got to go. He got to get up out of there. He's another one. Cory, over here with Benjamin Netanyahu, after he gave this long essay about how we got to get aid in to people in Gaza. Don't hide behind your buddies. That's him right there trying to hide. Don't hide behind your buddies. You stood there in that picture to pose with Benjamin Netanyahu along with Chuck Schumer. Don't hide. You took that money. Don't hide your face now. We have to, when I say we have to drive ourselves towards a more radical form of politics, it means that we can no longer continue to vote or support or advocate for a whack-ass Obama wannabe politician. That's Cory Booker. No more Obamas, no more Clyburns, no more Kamalas, none of these whack-ass sellout politicians. None of them. He got to go. Cory Booker, hand in hand here with Benjamin Netanyahu. He's fake. Fake. Bought and paid for. And for Black viewers in particular, you got to vet these Black politicians too. I'm getting kind of tired of people just thinking that just because they're Black and they're running for office that you should support them. No, they got to be vetted too. You need to know who they taking money from. That's how you end up with Cory Booker. That's how you end up with Hakeem Jeffries. That's how you end up with Jim Clyburn. Meanwhile, your districts continue to struggle. These are people who just want political power. These are people who want to have these speaking fee engagements. They want to give talks. They want to write books. Cory Booker sat right there and told AIPAC during a conference how they can recruit Black people at a young age. These are not the politicians that are going to fight and help the Black community. They got to go. No more of these. No more Corys. No more Clyburns, and no more Shontel Browns, who ran against Nina Turner. Now, luckily, one of Shontel's constituents stood up to her. Of course, you guys know she is very, very pro-Israel. Shout out to Mark. He said, last night I went to an event held by my Congresswoman puppet of Israel, Shontel Brown. Let's see what happened here. Kudos, Mark.
IRS refund with a small business loan with Medicare or Social Security, please contact my office. We are here to help.
When can I get back the money you've been sending to Israel? When am I going to get back? When are you going to give back the money that you've been sending to Israel? You have been voting to give my tax dollars to Israel to commit Palestinian genocide. You are a paid puppet of Israel. There are babies dying right now in Palestine because of the votes that you've been making the past 2 years. You are as evil as Donald Trump.
Go that way for me.
I am a constituent of this district, and then why are you letting them take me like this?
Can you wait a little while in the program? So we'll get to that, sir. Thank you.
Okay? Relax with it.
You don't have to hold me.
Let's go. Go this way. Let's go. My man. Thank you. You need to relax yourself, man.
What do you mean relax? Am I fighting you?
Relax yourself.
What do you mean relax? I'm walking with you. Have I said anything?
Come here, man. Relax.
We're recording too, sir. So
yep,
you can record all you want.
Yep.
Okay, so here's the deal. You're causing a disruption.
How many Palestinians' lives have been disrupted because of her?
Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Okay? That's us talking now, okay?
Okay.
Now, she actually stated on the way out that she wanted to address your concern, but we're going to have to do it in a peaceful fashion. Are you going to be able to do that?
I have contacted her. I have tweeted at her. She wasn't going to take my question. That's why I did that.
I get it.
Nope.
And then he was grabbing me, acting like all I wanted to do was say that. I'm not. Because I know how you all do.
You got your message out? You got your message out?
And let me tell you, you work for her. You got Palestinian blood on your hands. There are babies starving to death right now because of you and her. Y'all are just as evil as Donald Trump. Y'all are just as evil as Donald Trump.
Did you get your message out?
Oh, I will.
Okay. Did you get your message?
Are you a Christian?
Did you get your message?
Are you a Christian? I'm asking, are you a Christian?
We got a couple options here.
What's the option?
If you want to continue to enjoy the event and potentially.
Did I say I was going back? I just told you I wasn't going back in.
Okay, then it's
okay. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Imagine asking people to be civil at this point in time, asking for civil discourse when there's a genocide happening. Imagine asking people to do that. Shontel Brown bought and paid for a puppet. AIPAC poured in a lot of money to her. Look at how much money she has been taking. Over 4.3. You see this? Over 4.3 million from pro-Israel lobby donations. Another black face in a high place, not doing anything for black people, but there to make sure that she prioritizes Israel. You got to be done with these people, man. You got to be done with these people. So we have to get past the whole they are representation thing. If they're not bringing nothing to the table for the black community, they're putting Israel first at every step of the way. That includes people like, yes, Shontel Brown. And this is why when you look at the way people voted for that particular measure, yeah, it's great that 27 voted against it, but it should have been all of them. Every single Democrat should have voted against that. But they didn't, because they're all bought and paid for. So we can no longer allow ourselves to be confused by controlled opposition that appears to be radical politic, but just wants to conform and fit in with the establishment status quo. That's your Bernie Sanders. That's your AOC. They're looking out for their careers and their families. And I would not be surprised if at some point Bernie Sanders was threatened or his family was threatened. These people are long gone. A lot of the people in Congress bought and paid for. So it's great that the majority voted against it. But the reality is, if you're the Democratic Party and you say that you are true opposition to the Republican Party, all of you should have voted against it. All of you should have voted against it. All these people got to be voted out. Point blank. I don't care who runs against them. Somebody run against them, get them out. All these people got to go. got to go. Because you look around and you see, isn't it obvious by now? Isn't it obvious that a lot of these people are bought and paid for? And what bothers me the most, as I said, is it's the Black politicians that bother me the most. And I say that because you Black kids look at you and see that you're someone that they may see as a role model, someone that they may look up to. Black kids in poor neighborhoods can see you on TV and say, hey, there's someone who looks like me. Maybe I can get there too. But you're dirty. You're not even prioritizing helping the needs of your own community. You're prioritizing helping Israel. So that's the problem. That's why I focus so much on them, because they give people the impression that they're there to fight for you, but they're not. They're just a black face in a high place. They put Israel before you too. So no, we're not going to be fooled by this anymore. Cory Booker and the Harvard, Obama, whack ass, wannabe politicians, Harvard, Stanford, etc. We are not going to allow ourselves to be played by these people into thinking that they're one of us and they're really trying to help, and they're not. They're puppets, they're corporate, they're status quo, and that means they're against you. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.